Imagine standing there in your white dress, the church packed with family and friends, your heart pounding with excitement, only for the man you love to vanish, leaving you humiliated in front of everyone. And worse, he runs off with your best friend, the one person you trusted like a sister. He left me at the altar for my best friend. Years later, he begged on his knees, begging for forgiveness. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Right? But what if I told you this isn't just any story? It's a raw, real tale of heartbreak, betrayal, and the kind of comeback that makes you question everything about love and loyalty. Have you ever been stabbed in the back by someone close? Would you forgive them if they crawled back years later, tears streaming down their face? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's see what you do. This is the story of Adara, a woman whose world shattered on what should have been her happiest day. And how fate twisted back around in the bustling streets of Lagos. Adara had always been the planner. The one who mapped out her life like a Lagos traffic route, dodging potholes, aiming straight for success. Growing up in Ikea, she was the daughter of a hard-working civil servant father and a market trader mother who sold fabrics in Balagon Market. From a young age, Adara dreamed of a big family, a stable home, far from the chaos of her parents' constant arguments over money. She met Chaik in university at the University of Lagos, where they both studied business administration. He was charming, with that easy smile that lit up lecture halls, and a laugh that made her forget the stress of exams. They dated for 4 years, building what felt like an unbreakable bond. Chaik proposed on her 25th birthday, down on one knee at a fancy restaurant in Victoria Island, with the ocean waves crashing in the background. "Ada, you're my everything," he said, slipping the ring on her finger. She said yes without hesitation, envisioning their future. A house in Lekki, kids running around, weekends at the beach. But as wedding plans ramped up, little cracks started showing. Chaik began working late at his marketing job, always on his phone, texting away with a secretive grin. Adara brushed it off, stress from the upcoming nuptials, she thought. Her best friend, Nyechi, was right there by her side, helping pick the Aso Ibi fabrics, organizing the bridal shower. Nkechi had been her rock since secondary school in Surulere. They shared secrets, dreams, even clothes. "Girl, you're going to be the most beautiful bride Lagos has ever seen," Nkechi would say, hugging her tight. Adara never suspected a thing. The wedding day arrived, St. Dominic's Church in Yaba overflowing with guests, over 200 people, from extended family to colleagues. Adara's heart raced as she walked down the aisle, her father beaming beside her. But Chaik wasn't at the altar. Minutes ticked by, whispers turned to murmurs. Then, a phone call. Chaik had eloped with Nkechi. They were spotted at the airport, heading to Abuja. The church erupted in chaos, Adara's mother wailing, uncles shouting, friends trying to console her as she collapsed in her gown, the world spinning. That betrayal hit like a truck on 3rd Mainland Bridge, fast, unforgiving, leaving wreckage everywhere. Adara spent weeks locked in her room, ignoring calls, barely eating. Her pride shattered, trust evaporated. How could the two people she loved most do this? Flashbacks haunted her. Late-night giggles with Nyechi about boys, Chaik's promises of forever. Foreshadowing she missed the way Nkechi always complimented Chaik's ideas, how he'd linger a bit too long when dropping her off. But hindsight is a cruel teacher. Adara's family rallied around her. Her sister Ifeoma moved in temporarily, forcing her to eat jollof rice and watch Nollywood movies to distract her. "Men are trash sometimes, but you'll rise," Ifeoma said. Slowly, Adara pieced herself back together. She threw herself into work at her advertising firm, climbing the ranks, turning pain into fuel. Years past 5, to be exact. She dated sporadically, but nothing stuck. The scar ran deep. Loyalty became her mantra. She vetted friends like job applicants. Then, one rainy evening in Lagos traffic, her phone buzzed. It was Chaik. "Ada, I need to see you, please." Her stomach twisted. What could he possibly want now? The curiosity burned. What nerve did he have? She agreed to meet at a neutral spot, a cafe in Ikoyi, her heart guarded like Fort Knox. As she sipped her coffee, memories flooded. Their first date at Freedom Park, stolen kisses under the stars. But anger simmered beneath. When Chaik walked in, he looked different, worn, eyes hollow, no trace of that cocky charm. He sat down, hands trembling. "Adara, I've made the biggest mistake of my life." She leaned back, arms crossed, waiting for the bomb to drop. Little did she know this meeting would unearth secrets that would flip her world again, testing every ounce of her resolve. Betrayal like this doesn't just fade. It lingers, waiting for its moment. And forgiveness? That's a battlefield all its own. Chaik sat opposite Adawara in the dimly lit Ikoyi cafe, rain drumming steadily against the windows like it was trying to drown out the awkwardness between them. The place smelled of fresh ground coffee and expensive perfume, but none of it could mask the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. He looked nothing like the man she'd once planned a lifetime with. His once crisp shirts were now rumpled, his eyes sunken, beard uneven like he'd given up midway through shaving. Adawara kept her expression blank, slowly stirring her tea, letting the spoon clink against the cup until the silence became unbearable for him. "I know showing up like this is selfish," he began, voice rough and low. "I don't deserve a single second of your attention. But the guilt has been eating me alive every single day since I left that church." Adawara lifted one eyebrow, calm on the surface, storm raging underneath. 5 years, Chaik. 5 whole years. And guilt is what finally dragged you back? He swallowed, Adam's apple bobbing. It's more than guilt now. It's regret, deep, soul-crushing regret. Kechi and I, we crashed and burned so fast it's embarrassing. We convinced ourselves it was real love, bigger than loyalty, bigger than everything. But 6 months in, the fight started. Money, respect, little things that grew into monsters. She said I wasn't enough, that I'd trapped her in mediocrity. Eventually, she left me for a banker in Abuja, someone with deep pockets and no emotional baggage. I've been alone ever since, bouncing between jobs, barely keeping my head above water. A tiny, vicious spark of satisfaction flared in Adara's chest, but she stamped it out fast. She wasn't here to celebrate his downfall. She wanted answers. Real ones. "So your grand escape turned into a nightmare," she said, voice flat. "And now you want what exactly? My pity? Forgiveness on a silver platter? Or just someone to listen so you can feel less like trash?" Chaik leaned forward, elbows on the table, hands clasped tight to stop them shaking. "I want to tell you the full truth, the parts I was too cowardly to say back then. Maybe if you hear it all, you'll understand why I ran. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find a way to forgive me. Not for me, for your own peace." Adara let out a short, bitter laugh. "Forgive you? You left me standing at the altar in front of 200 people, my parents, my uncles, my village connections, everyone who ever mattered to me. My mother still cries when she remembers that day. My father looks 10 years older. You think forgiveness is something you can ask for like it's change for parking?" He dropped his eyes to his untouched coffee. "I know what I destroyed. But there's something you don't know, Ada, something Kechi and I kept buried because we were ashamed." Her heart gave a hard thud. She hated that he could still make her curious, still pull invisible strings. "Say it," she ordered. Chaik drew in a shaky breath. "That morning, right before the ceremony, I got a message. Not from Michi, from your cousin Emeka." Adawara's brows knitted. "Emeka?" The loud, bitter accountant who'd moved to Maryland and still acted like the family owed him something? "He sent screenshots," Chaik continued. "Messages between you and Desmond, your ex. They looked recent, just 2 weeks before the wedding. Desmond saying he still loved you. Regretted letting you go. You replying that you'd talk when he came to Lagos for his conference. You didn't shut him down. You left the door open." Adara felt the room tilt. "That's impossible. I kept the screenshots. I can show you." "Don't," she snapped, loud enough that the couple at the next table glanced over. "I never cheated. Desmond texted me once, drunk and sentimental. I told him I was getting married and to delete my number. I deleted the chat the same day. If Emeka sent you screenshots, they were manipulated old messages stitched together to look current." Chaik stared at her, color draining from his face. I never checked the details like that. Emeka said a mutual friend gave them to him. He warned me you were playing me, that I'd be the fool at the altar." Adora's hands curled into fists under the table. Emeka, always jealous, always stirring drama because he felt overlooked. She remembered his snide remarks when she chose Chaik, his sulking at family gatherings. "You believed him," she whispered. A jealous cousin over me. Without one single question. I was terrified, Chaik admitted. Terrified of marrying someone who still carried feelings for another man. Nyechi found me in the car park that morning, panicking. She comforted me. One hug turned into more, and I made the worst choice of my life. I ran. With her, the cafe felt suffocating now. Adara's mind spun anger at Amika, pity for Chaik's weakness, and a strange relief that her own heart had stayed true. But the wound was still raw. She pushed her chair back. I need to breathe. Ada, please. I'm not leaving. Just give me a minute. Outside, rain soaked her umbrella as she paced the pavement, Lagos traffic honking through the wet dusk. If this was true, the real knife hadn't come from Chaik and Nkechi alone, it had come from family. And she'd spent half a decade hating the wrong people. She walked back in, water dripping from her coat, eyes fierce. Show me those screenshots now. Chaik's hands trembled as he slid the phone across the table. Adara's fingers tightened around Chaik's phone as she scrolled through the screenshots again, hunting for cracks in the story. The cafe's soft jazz felt mocking now, too calm for the storm inside her. The chat bubbles were the wrong shade. Her WhatsApp had been classic green back then, not this fake blue. Timestamps jumped in weird places like someone had cut and pasted bits together. She zoomed in on one message. We'll talk when you're here. Her actual reply to Desmond had been colder, final. This version was softer, edited to hurt. These are manipulated, she said, sliding the phone back so hard it almost tipped over. Look at the theme color. I changed it months after Desmond. Emeka stitched old conversations to make them look recent. He wanted to sabotage us. Chaik's mouth opened, then closed. He stared at the screen like it had betrayed him all over again. I swear I didn't see that. Emeka sounded so sure. He said a mutual friend caught you two talking. I panicked, Ada. I thought I was saving myself from being played. Saving yourself? Her voice cracked with disbelief. You humiliated me instead. Left me in a wedding gown crying in front of everyone while you ran off with my best friend. He winced, rubbing his face. I know, I was weak. Nkechi was there that morning crying too. She said you'd been texting Desmond behind my back. She showed me more proof, said she was trying to protect me. One hug turned into comfort. Comfort turned into escape. We flew to Abuja the same day. Adara pictured it. Nkechi in her bridesmaid dress, whispering poison while helping zip up Adara's gown. The betrayal doubled, tripled. Flashback to boarding school and Nkechi swearing they'd never let boys come between them. Now the memory tasted like ash. And after? Adara asked, keeping her tone even. Tell me it crashed fast. Chaik nodded slowly. We got married at a quiet registry. Thought it was romantic. But 6 months later, the shine wore off. She wanted the big life designer bags, weekend getaways. My marketing salary couldn't deliver. She started comparing me to richer guys at events. Fights got vicious. One night she packed a bag, said I'd ruined her future. Left for a banker she met at a networking mixer. Took most of our joint account. I've been drifting since job to job, crashing on friends' couches when rent ran out. He looked smaller with every word, the cocky uni-boy gone. Adara felt a pang part pity, part anger that he'd thrown everything away over lies. Why come back now? She pressed. Chaik met her eyes. Saw your LinkedIn post. Senior manager TEDx speaker glowing. Then your auntie mentioned you're dating someone serious, a surgeon. It broke something in me. I realized I threw away the best thing I ever had. I need to make it right, even if you never speak to me again. Adara stood, bag slung over her shoulder. I need space to think. And you need to call Emeka. Get the real story straight from his mouth. I will, tonight. She stepped into the rain, umbrella forgotten, letting cool drops hit her face. Lagos traffic roared past indifferent. If Emeka had really done this, family had betrayed her worse than romance ever could. Back in her Lekki apartment, city lights glittering outside, she poured red wine with shaking hands and dialed Emeka's Canadian number. The call connected after 2 rings. Emeka, she said, voice steel. We need to talk about the morning of my wedding. And the screenshots you sent Chaik. Silence stretched. Then a nervous laugh. Ada. Long time. The conversation that followed would peel back layers she never knew existed, turning regret into rage and forcing her to decide. Forgive, forget, or finally settle the score. The line crackled for a long second before Emeka's voice came through, too cheerful, too forced. Ada, my favorite cousin. What's the occasion? You never call Canada time. Adora didn't smile. She paced her living room, bare feet silent on the cool tiles, city lights flickering through floor-to-ceiling windows. Cut the act, Emeka. I just sat with Chike for an hour. He showed me the screenshots you sent him the morning of my wedding. The ones that made him run. Silence again, heavier this time. Then a nervous cough. Look, Ada. I was looking out for you. For the family. I heard things. You heard nothing, she cut in, voice low and dangerous. You fabricated messages. Changed colors. Stitched old chats. Why? Emeka exhaled sharply. Okay, fine. They weren't 100% real. But Desmond did reach out. I saw the original thread on your phone when you left it unlocked at Auntie's house that Christmas. You were laughing about old times. I thought, maybe you weren't over him. Chike was rushing things, talking marriage like it was a business deal. I didn't want you trapped. So you decided to play God? Adora's laugh was brittle. You sent fake proof to my groom on the most important day of my life. You destroyed everything because you thought you knew better? I was drunk when I sent them, he muttered. Jealous, yeah. You always got the spotlight, best grades, best fiancé, best everything. I was stuck in Maryland doing taxes for strangers while you were shining in Lagos. I wanted to knock you down a peg. Stupid, immature. I regret it every day. Adora stopped pacing. Regret. The word echoed, like it had been following her for years. But hearing it from Emeka felt different, smaller, cheaper. Did Nkechi know? She asked suddenly. Another pause. She suspected something. When Chike showed her the screenshots in the car park, she said, I always knew Ada had options. She encouraged him to leave. Said it was better to find out now than later. The betrayal sharpened into something razor-edged. Nkechi hadn't just comforted Chike, she'd fanned the flames. Adora remembered Nkechi's tight hugs that morning, the way she'd whispered, You deserve the truth, no matter how much it hurts. It hadn't been kindness. It had been calculation. I'm hanging up now, Adora said. Don't call me. Don't text. Don't show up at family functions pretending we're cool. You're dead to me. Ada, wait. She ended the call, tossed the phone onto the couch, and sank to the floor. Tears came fast, hot, angry, not for Chike this time, but for the family she'd trusted blindly. For the best friend who'd smiled in her face while sharpening the knife. Her phone buzzed again. Chike? A voice note. She almost deleted it, but curiosity won. Ada, I spoke to Emeka. He admitted everything. The screenshots were fake. I'm so sorry. I should have asked you. I should have trusted you. I was a coward. If there's any way, any small way you can ever look at me again, I'll wait. I'll earn it. However long it takes. She didn't reply. Instead, she opened her messages with Kelechi, the surgeon who'd been patient, steady, kind. He'd texted earlier, thinking of you tonight. Call if you need me. Simple. No drama, no ultimatums. She typed back, can we talk tomorrow? Something big came up. His reply was instant, of course. Whenever you're ready, I'm here. Adora stood, wiped her face, and walked to the balcony. Lagos sprawled below, chaotic, bright, unforgiving. She'd survived worse than this. She'd rebuilt once. She could do it again. But this time, she'd do it on her terms. The real question wasn't whether Chike deserved forgiveness. It was whether she still had room in her heart for anyone who'd ever made her doubt herself. Adora woke the next morning with a clarity she hadn't felt in years. Sunlight sliced through the blinds of her lucky apartment, painting gold stripes across the white sheets. Her phone sat silent on the nightstand, no new messages from Chike, no missed calls from Emeka. Good, she needed the quiet to think. She made coffee strong enough to wake the dead, sat on the balcony, and watched Lagos stir below. Okadas weaving through traffic, Hawkers balancing trays of boiled eggs, the distant hum of generators. Everything moved forward, relentless. Why shouldn't she? Kelechi arrived at noon, carrying takeout from her favorite spot-pounded yam and egusi soup, still steaming in foil containers. He didn't ask questions right away. He just unpacked the food, set the table, and waited. That was one of the things she loved about him. No pressure, no demands. Just presence. They ate in comfortable silence until she finally spoke. Chaik showed up yesterday. Begged for forgiveness. Kelechi's spoon paused halfway to his mouth. He set it down carefully. And she told him everything. The fake screenshots, Emeka's confession, Nichi's role, Chaik's broken life. Kelechi listened without interrupting, eyes steady, face unreadable. When she finished, he reached across the table and took her hand. "What do you want to do about it?" he asked simply. Adara looked at their joined fingers, his steady, hers still trembling a little. "I don't know if I want to forgive him. Part of me wants to let him rot in his regret. But another part, I don't want to carry this poison anymore. It's been 5 years of me punishing myself for something I didn't do." Kelechi nodded slowly. "Forgiveness isn't about him deserving it. It's about you being free." She exhaled, long and shaky. "I think I need to see him one more time. Close the chapter properly. Not for him, for me." Kelechi squeezed her hand. "Then do it. I'll be here when you get back." That evening, she texted Chaik, Freedom Park, 7 p.m. one conversation. That's all. He was already there when she arrived, sitting on the same bench where they'd had their first real date years ago. The park lights glowed soft orange, couples strolled hand in hand, children chased each other laughing. Life going on. Chaik stood when he saw her, hands shoved deep in his pockets like he was afraid to move wrong. "Thank you for coming." Adara sat, leaving space between them. "I spoke to Emeka. He admitted it all. The screenshots were fake. Kechi knew and pushed you anyway. You still chose to believe them over asking me." He winced. "I know, I was scared of the truth. Easier to run than face the possibility I was wrong." She studied his face holder, lined with regret. "I hated you for so long. Hated Nikechi more. Hated Emeka most of all. But hating kept me stuck. I'm tired of being stuck." Chaik's eyes filled. "I don't expect you to take me back. I just needed you to know I see what I did. I see the pain I caused. If I could undo that day, I would. In a heartbeat." Adara felt something loosen inside her chest. Not love, not anymore, but release. "I forgive you, Chaik. Not because you earned it. Because I'm choosing peace. But this is goodbye. Don't contact me again. Build your life. Be better. That's all I want." He nodded, tears spilling. "Thank you, Ada, for everything you were to me. I'm sorry I wasn't worthy." She stood, walked away without looking back. The night air felt lighter, cleaner. For the first time in years, the weight of that wedding day lifted. But fate, as Lagos loves to remind you, rarely lets things end so neatly. Adara stepped out of Freedom Park into the humid Lagos night, the distant honk of Danfoss and the sizzle of roadside suya blending into a familiar symphony. Her heels clicked against the pavement with purpose, each step lighter than the last. The conversation with Chaik hadn't erased the scar, he'd never be able to, but it had finally stopped bleeding. She'd looked him in the eye, said the words, "I forgive you," and meant them. Not for his sake alone, but because carrying that old rage had become heavier than the pain itself. Forgiveness, she realized, wasn't a gift she gave him. It was freedom she gave herself. The Bolt driver chatted idly about fuel prices as they crawled through Victoria Island traffic, but Adara barely heard him. She stared out at the glittering high-rises, the neon signs flashing promises of luxury and new beginnings. For so long she'd seen the city as a reminder of what she'd lost, the dream wedding, the perfect couple, the life she'd planned down to the last detail. Tonight, Lagos felt different. It felt like possibility again. Back in her apartment, she kicked off her shoes, lit the vanilla sandalwood candle Kelechi loved, and poured herself a glass of red. Her phone buzzed once. "Kelechi, how did it go?" "You okay?" She smiled, thumbs flying. "Better than okay. I'll tell you everything tomorrow. Thank you for giving me space tonight." His reply came fast. "Always here." Sleep well, love. The next morning she woke early, sunlight flooding the room. She made breakfast plantain and eggs, strong tea, and opened her laptop to the conference presentation she'd been polishing for weeks. The title still read Rebuilding Trust in a World of Broken Promises, but now the slides felt personal, alive. She added a new section, The Cost of Doubt and the Power of Choosing Peace. Every bullet point carried the weight of her own story, transformed from wound into wisdom. Weeks slipped by in a gentle, healing rhythm. Kelechi became her anchor dinners at quiet rooftop spots overlooking the lagoon. Sunday afternoons watching Arsenal matches with cold beers and louder laughter. Late-night talks about dreams neither had dared voice before. He never once asked her to compare him to Chaik. He simply showed up, steady and real. Then came the night that closed the final loop. It was a high-profile networking mixer at Eco Hotel, crystal chandeliers throwing light across marble floors. Waiters gliding with trays of champagne, conversations buzzing with ambition. Adara wore a sleek emerald green dress that hugged her confidence, hair swept into an elegant updo. She was laughing with a potential client about a new campaign when she felt the shift in the air. She turned. Nyechi stood 20 feet away, clutching a small gold clutch like it was armor. Thinner, cheekbones sharper, eyes wary. Their gazes locked. Nkechi hesitated, then crossed the room. "Adora," she said, voice barely above the music. "You look radiant." Nkechi. Adora kept her tone even, no venom, no warmth, just fact. "I didn't plan to see you here. I almost left when I spotted you. But I can't run anymore. I owe you more than words, but words are all I have left." Adora waited, arms loosely folded. Nkechi swallowed. "I was jealous from the start. You had the supportive parents, the scholarships, Chaik who looked at you like you hung the moon. I felt like the side character in your story. When he came to me that morning panicked, showing me those screenshots, I saw my opening. I told him you'd never really chosen him, that you were keeping options open. I fed his fear because I wanted to feel chosen for once. I convinced myself it was love. But it was theft. I stole your happiness, our friendship, everything. I'm so deeply sorry, Ada. I destroyed the one person who ever truly saw me." Tears shimmered in Nkechi's eyes. Adara studied her, the girl who'd once braided her hair for school dances, who'd stayed up all night helping her cram for exams, who'd promised forever. The hurt lingered, but it no longer ruled her. "I forgive you, Nkechi," Adara said quietly. "Not because what you did was small. It wasn't, but I won't let bitterness rent space in my heart anymore. I've rebuilt without you. Go rebuild too. Be kind to yourself and to others. That's all I ask." Nkechi nodded, tears spilling. "Thank you for everything you were to me." She turned and melted back into the crowd. Adara exhaled, shoulders dropping. The circle was complete. Months later, she stood on a brightly lit stage at the advertising conference, hundreds of eyes on her. She spoke of betrayal's sharp edges, the long road of healing, the choice to release pain instead of clutching it. When she shared the final line, "Sometimes the greatest revenge is living well, not in spite of them, but because of the strength you found inside yourself," the room erupted in applause. Backstage, Kelechi waited with roses and that quiet, proud smile. Later, walking barefoot along Eliguchi Beach, waves whispering against the shore, Adara looked up at the stars scattered across the Lagos sky. She'd lost a loved one violently, but she'd gained something unbreakable, herself. And in the end, that was the comeback no one could take away.